Question 5 deals with statistics. We have 3 statistical averages, namely the mean, mode, and median you are required to find. And in the question of statistics, there are probability as well. So expect one probability part and expect to find calculations of the mean, mode, and median, right? So we're going to start off today's class. I will show you the video as to how we go about calculating the mean and median. From there, we will go into grouped data and we will go on to ungrouped data. So you will see the two differences, and I expect at the end of the class, you all should have some knowledge of statistics to do the relevant questions. All right, so let us get started.
Organized data, T33, number of goals. So
So let us examine the data we have before us. Here we have a football team keeps records of the number of goals it scores per match during a season. So we know in our school, we have some players here right in our class who take part in netball and football and volleyball, right? So it is obvious that you all do some sort of record keeping. Here we have a simple question where you are asked to determine the median and the mode. Now, let us be very clear as to what the mode is. The mode is the number of goals with the highest frequency. And the mode is a 1-mark question, meaning that it is a question that it is the correct answer only. You cannot put 12 as a mode and expect CXC to give you the mark. 12 is not the mode. They will ask you for the mode, which is the number of goals. So yes, 12 has the highest frequency, but it corresponds to a number of goals of 2. So pay attention to exactly what the mode is. All right, so
the 2 here is our mode because it has the highest frequency. So mode is 2, or you can say the modal number of goals if you're writing it in a sentence. The modal number of goals is 2. Now we're going to go on to calculate the mean. As I said before, there are 40 numbers represented here. So we need to add up just to show. The frequency is 8 plus 10, 18, 20, 30, 33, 35, 40. So 40 numbers are represented in the table, and they're organized into this pattern here. So what we're going to do is to multiply. Instead of writing them out and adding them up, the faster way to do it is simply to multiply it out. So we put an X here and F for frequency, and we're going to simply multiply frequency times X, where X means the number of goals. So let's do that. 0 times 8 here is a 0. 1 times 10 is 10. 2 times 12 is 24. 3 3s are 9. 4 5s are 20. And 2 5s are 10. And now we have the sum of the number of goals. So we can add up that, and once we add that, 10, 30, 50, 60, 73, we realize that we get 73 there. To find our mean, what we do to find our mean is that the mean is equal to the sum of the frequencies times the number of goals over the sum of the frequencies. And that simply gives us 73 divided by 40, and 73 divided by 40, when you punch it in your calculator, gives you approximately 1.8. And that would tell us that the mean number of goals scored is 1.8. Compare that with the mode. The modal number of goals scored is 2, and the mean is 1.8. This is discrete data. You cannot score 1.5 goals. So if you were asked questions about, for example, what is the best method to central tendency to use, whether it was mean, mode, or median, then this would be a bad one, because it's 1.8 and you cannot score 1.8 goals. So for that reason, you probably would choose 2, since you're dealing with discrete data. That question is not asked here, just saying that if you were asked. Now the next one we want to find is the median.
All right, so I just want to go back a little bit. And I want to explain exactly what they ask. So they ask for you to look at that frequency distribution and find the mode and the mean. Now, I observed that in 2024, they brought a frequency distribution similar to this. So I will teach it. But I expect in 2025 for you to find the estimates of the mean, meaning they bring the big table and they ask you to do it like that. So we will do both to prepare ourselves for either one. So how we find the mode? The mode is the number with the highest frequency. 12 is the highest frequency that pertains to the number of goals of 2. Similarly, the mean is found by multiplying the numbers, finding the f of x, then dividing that by 73 divided by 40, you'll get 1.8. So let's pay attention to the median.
Example, what is the best method to central tendency to use, whether it was mean, mode, or median, then this would be a bad one, because it's 1.8 and you cannot score 1.8 goals. So for that reason, you probably would choose 2, since you're dealing with discrete data. That question is not asked here, just saying that if you were asked. Now the next one we want to find is the median. And to find the median, we need to find the middle number. Now, if the data is raw, we need to organize it from smallest to lowest. This data is organized already. We established a while ago that there were 40 numbers. And we're not going to write out those 40 numbers. That would take a ridiculous amount of time and a waste of time, actually. But what we can do, there's a method that we can use to locate where the median is. And since this is discrete data, that's important, it's discrete data. So we're going to say 40 plus 1. We add 1 because when you're dealing with discrete data, your value is always the middle data. And so 40 numbers, when you divide 40 numbers in 2, you will get 20 numbers on that side and 20 numbers on that side. And so you'd have to find what number comes in between the 20th and the 21st number. So for that reason, we add 1. So we would say, all right, 40 plus 1 over 2, and that gives us 41 over 2, which is 20.5. And what this tells us is not the median, but what it does is tells us where the median is. So the median is in the 20.5th position. All right, so if you would write out all the numbers, then the median is going to fall in that position. And that's important to remember. Now, you can add the frequencies to see where the 20.5th position is. So if say we start with here, there are 8 zeros plus 10 ones, that's 18 numbers. So the 20th number is going to land among the 2.
All right, so let me explain it a little bit better. We understand that the number of goals is 40. So when we add all these numbers, we get 40. So we add 1 to 40 to get 41. So 41 divided by 2 is 20.5. So the median is the average of the 20th and the 21st value. So we add in 10 and 8 is 18. We didn't reach number 20 as yet. When we add here, we will get 30. So it means that the 20th and the 21st number is 2. So it is 2 plus 2 divided by 2. The median is 2. Well, let's look at the video.
Here. And so the 20.5th position would land among the 2s. And since it's all among the 2s, then that would tell us that our median here would be 2. And
so here we have a similar table taken from the 2024 paper, and the question reads, Mr. Morgan has administered a spelling test to his class. The table below shows the number of words out of 10 persons spelled correctly. You are seeing now, before you even attempt to do this question, make sure you understand what the table represents. So probably you could underline frequency. And this is taken from the June 2024. The reason I'm telling you to underline frequency is that you can appreciate the frequency column and you don't get it mixed up with the number of words. Now, as I mentioned previously, mode is 1 mark. It's 1 mark because it is the correct answer only. You could write wherever you want. You could write any big set of explanation. They're not bothering with that. They are looking for the correct answer only. Here, the median is 1 mark. They are looking for the correct answer only, right? And we should be able to get 2 and 1 3 and 1 4 marks in. So I want you to examine the table and look at the table. The frequency data is the second row. We have 8, 4, 2, 2, 3, and 4. This tells me the highest value is 8. So 8 is not the mode. The number of words that correspond to 8 is 5. So the frequency, the mode is 5. The median now. So we have to tally the frequency. So add up the frequencies for me. Add 8, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. And you're adding 1 to that. Add up those numbers. The reason I added 1, that is the formula, right? So it is 23 plus 1, which is 24. So the median position is 24 divided by 2, which is the 12th. So if the first 8 numbers is 5, so we have 5 occurring 8 times. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then we have 6 occurring 4 times. Then the 12th value. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. The 12th value is 6. And we could have gotten that just by adding the frequencies. So I hope you understand how to find the median, right? Now the mean is a little more challenging. So what we want to do, I will pause a little bit and I will give you the opportunity to work out the mean. So you're working out F multiplied by X here. So you're multiplying the numbers. So the mean is the sum of F of X divided by the sum of F. So multiply all the columns, add them up, and we know the frequency here is 23. So we divide it by 23. Go ahead. Multiply the numbers, add them, and divide it by 23. I'll give you a couple minutes. Go ahead. All right, when we add the sum of the numbers, we should get 161. So 161 divided by 23, you should get exactly 7. So you could either get two types of data. You could get data that is ungrouped, like what we have here, or you could get grouped data to find the estimate of the mode and the median, etc. So I would really appreciate if after we finish the class, you all retry these questions on your own to make sure you fully understand how to find the mean, mode, and median for the two types of data. This is ungrouped data. I should probably write it in red. And we're going to look at finding the mean, mode, and median for grouped data.
Add these two numbers and we get a midpoint, and that midpoint will help us to calculate the mean. It's an estimate. The table below shows the distribution of masses of you, the useful.
All right, so let us look at this table. you have to agree that the table is a little bit different compared to the last one, right? We are going to calculate the mean, mode, and median on grouped distribution. What do I mean by grouped data? Here the data is in intervals, meaning that I have 1 to 10, 11 to 20, 21 to 30. It is grouped. It is not single values like 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. Now, this sort of table carries a lot of marks. So you will recognize that to find the mean alone, sometimes it might be about 3 or 4 marks. And once we understand how to do it, it will go a long way in our final grade, right? So let's look at the video.
The table below shows the distribution of masses of packages. So we have packages measuring 1 to 10 kilograms, and there are 12 of them. Packages measuring 11 to 20 kilograms, there are 28 of them. 21 to 30, 30 of them. 31 to 40, etc. We have 22 and 8. So if you wanted to estimate the mean, and it's important here to point out that in this, it's an estimate. For your frequency distribution and for raw data, the mean that you find is the actual mean. But for these group distributions, when you find a mean, it's an estimate. The reason is the data is so grouped that you do not know. It says 12 numbers lie between 1 and 10, but we don't know what those 12 numbers are. They could all be 1s, they could all be 2s, they could all be 1.5s or 9.5s. We don't know. 9.4s rather. We don't know what they are. So all that we know is that there are 12 numbers in this group. There are 28 numbers in that group. And because of that, we have to make an estimate for a midpoint. Now, the midpoint is found by adding these two numbers. They're called the limits. So we add these two numbers and we get a midpoint. And that midpoint will help us to calculate the mean. So the first midpoint here, if you should add 1 plus 10, that gives you 11, and divide 11 by 2. So we'd say 1 plus 10. Let's just make a little column here. So the midpoint, the first one, 1 plus 10 divided by 2, which is 11 divided by 2 is 5.5. And so the midpoint here, mid is 5.5. And doing the same thing here would give us the other midpoint for that one, which would be 15.5.
So the midpoint is found by adding the two values, the 1 and 10, and dividing by 2, right? So you add 1 and 10 and you divide it by 2. So probably we could do this. So let me pause it. You draw the table in your book and we will do it together. So he did the first one first. Let us complete the table, finding the midpoint for each interval. Go ahead. All right, so let's see.
5, continuing 25.5, 35.5, and 45.5. We're going to be talking more about these in another video in terms of the.
So I do hope that you were able to get those values, right? 5.5, 15.5, 25.5, 35.5, and 45.5. What is interesting is to see what happens now to find the mean.
Dealing with the particular things behind grouped distributions, all the little intricacies about them. But for now, when you're going to find the mean, you need to work out a midpoint, and you do that by adding the limits here and dividing by 2. So 1 plus 10 divided by 2, 11 plus 20, that's 31 divided by 2, 41 plus 50, that's 91 divided by 2, and you get these. Now, once we get those midpoints, we can multiply now. So we can say, we can multiply the frequency, which is this is a frequency times the x, and we get our numbers. So we can multiply 12 by 5.5, plugging that in your calculator. 12 by 5.5 gives you 66, and 28 times 15.5 gives us 434. 30 times 25.5 here gives.
All right, so go ahead and compute the F times X column. Go ahead.
Gives us 765. 22 times 35.5 gives us 781. And the final one, 8 times 45.5 gives us 364. Now we need to sum these up, we need to add them up. And so the sum of the frequency times that midpoint gives us 2,410. 2,410. Let's write that a little better. Now, the question told us that there are 100 packages, but you could add these frequencies as well, and it would tell you that the sum of F here is 100. Well, the question said 100, so there was no need to add them up. And so our mean is to divide the sum of X. So our mean is the sum of Fx over the sum of F here. And that gives us 2,410 divided by 100, which gives us 24.1. So this is how you calculate.
So you understand how we can go about finding the mean. Now they can ask you to find the modal class, but they can't ask you to find the median unless you have to draw the cumulative frequency curve. So just pay attention, listen to what he says.
The mean from a grouped distribution by estimating the midpoint and multiplying that midpoint by the frequency. The mean in a group distribution, I'm stressing it again, it's always an estimate and not actual. It's an estimate because we do not know the actual values that were recorded in the table. We only know that there are 12 in this group, 28 in that group, and we do not know what the actual numbers are. So when you work out the mean, your mean is always an estimate. Now, what about the modal class? Well, the modal class is simple. The modal class is simply that class or interval that has the most entries. And you'd find that by going down the frequencies and look. And as you go down the frequencies, you'll see that 30 is the highest frequency, which means that 21 to 30 would be your modal class. So that's that. That's it. There's nothing else to it. Just pick the class with the highest frequency, and that class is your modal class. Finally, we'll talk about the median. Their CXC does not ask the student at the CSEC level to work out the median from the table. What you will do, however, is that you will work out the median from the cumulative frequency curve. There is a way to find the median from the table using what we call linear interpolation, but CXC will not require it. So if you come across it in your books, in your textbook, for example, you do not need to learn that for CSEC mathematics. Perhaps for mathematics above CSEC, but not for CSEC.
And you can't get it from a table because you will get a range of values there. When you have to draw the ogive curve, which we will look at today, you will be able to find the median. So just know for group data, you are expected to find the mode and you are expected to find the median. So let's go and see what the past paper has and how it is related to the theory. Because I strongly believe you're getting a grouped frequency data table just like this. So this one that we have here is taken from the 2021 paper, May, June 2021. And if you have it in your booklet and have answers, please don't use it. We do it from scratch so that we will be able to fully understand what we're doing. They ask for the modal class. I'm leaving that up to you. As you can see, the midpoint has already been calculated. And for 2 marks, because they already find the midpoint, you are required to find an estimate of the mean. So what I want you to do, you can probably redraw the table, right? And when you redraw the table, you have a column F multiplied by X, which is the frequency times the midpoint. So the first one will be 7 multiplied by 55, which is 385. So I want you to try it and make sure that you get the correct answer. So go ahead. Take the table down, fill it in, and I want you to also state the modal class. The mean, the estimate, X bar, the sum of f of X divided by the sum of F. So I've given you a few minutes to work out the modal class. Remember, the modal class is the class with the highest frequency. So you choose one of these intervals here for the modal class, write it here for 1 mark, and then work out the mean, exactly how we saw it in the table. All right, go ahead. In 2 minutes, we'll do it. All right, let's see what you have. So the modal class, looking at the frequency column, the highest frequency is 31, and that corresponds to our modal class. And you're writing it exactly how they have it here. 70 less than x less than or equal to 80. And having done that, you will get 1 mark. The next thing you had to do was multiply all the values. So 7 by 55, 385, 11 by 65, 715, 31 by 75, 2,325, 29 by 85, 2,465, 22 by 95, 2,090. So we add in all of that. 385, 715, 2325, 2465, and 2090. You will get 7,980 divided by the frequency is 100. Because the question says 100 students, right? When we divide 7,980 by 100, we'll get 7,980. So $79.80. And to be honest with you, that wasn't bad. It wasn't bad at all for us to find that, to get the modal class and the estimate of the mean. So that was 3 marks that we could have secured in the paper 2, question 5. Right? So we're going to try another one. This one, they are asking you, and this one is 3 marks because you are expected to find the midpoint. This is taken from the 2022. So this is May, June 2022. Now I erased some of the values for the midpoint, and I erased some of the values for f of x to give you an opportunity to try it on your own. So I really want you to try it and make sure that you could do it, right? So we could be able to secure those marks. So to 1 decimal place, they are asking you to find the estimate of the mean. Go ahead. All right, let's see what you have. So 100 plus 80 is 180 divided by 2. So you get 90. 100 plus 120 is 220 divided by 2 is 110. 120 plus 140 is 260 divided by 2 is 130. 140 plus 160 is 300. Half of that is 150 and this is 170. Then we have to multiply the values. $1,800 $3,850 $3,000 $680. They say that it is 150 students. So we expect the frequency here to be 150. Add these values together. I'll give you a minute to add it. Right, when we added those values, we were supposed to get 18,320. So the mean divided by 150, 122.1. They ask for the answer to 1 decimal place. So this is supposed to secure you 3 marks. Right? Pretty simple. Now, at your level, which is the CSEC level, you are not expected to calculate standard deviation, but you are expected to know what standard deviation means and to comment about distribution. So let us read, and it's only 1 mark, right? So in class B, the mean height is 123.5 centimeters, and the standard deviation is 29.87. For class A, the standard deviation is 21.38. So how does that, so we worked out the standard deviation for class A, right? And that was 122.1. So class A has a mean of 122.1 and a standard deviation of 21.38. Class B, no, this is just information I have in the question, 123.5 and a standard deviation of 29.87. Standard deviation represents the spread of the data. So let's write. The larger the standard deviation, means that the data is more spread out from the mean. The smaller the standard deviation, the data is more clustered or more close, is closer to the mean. So having said that, for 1 mark, we could say that this standard deviation, so class B, has a greater standard deviation. So we could say the standard deviation of class B is greater than the standard deviation of class E, which means that the data in class B is more spread out. And that's it. That's all I need to write. For 1 mark, they just want to know that you could interpret standard deviation, right? So we have 2 things to do, some statistical diagrams, and we have probability. Now, I will be spending a little time on the probability because you can almost guarantee that CXC is going to bring probability, right? So we have some time again, but at this time, I would like to take a break for 10 minutes. When you all come back at 10:30, we will do the probability first, and then we'll do the statistical diagrams. So come back in 10 minutes. All right, let's do the probability, and then we will do the statistical diagrams.
It's actually a die. The plural is dice. A fair die is tossed once. So you will probably remember that this die has 6 numbers on the face of it. So it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. A fair die is tossed once. What is the probability of obtaining a 6? Now, when you roll the die, you may get any of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. The idea here is, the question says fair because in gambling and in gaming, sometimes people do things to the dice to make them roll a particular way. So they don't roll towards certain numbers. They tend to roll towards other numbers more often than not. And so dice may not be fair. But if the dice fair in which it's cut equally and all the sides are the same and nobody has tampered with it, then fine. That's what we're talking about, a fair one. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those are the possible things that you can get. What is the chance that you will get a 6? Now, some persons in playing Ludo, for example, or Snakes and Ladders, and they want to throw and they want a particular number, and they just say, shake and give me a 6, and they get a 6. And you might be there throwing your life out, wanting a 6, and you can't get one. Maybe they're more lucky than you, or maybe it's just the probability working itself out. So, question is, look at the formula again. The probability of an event E occurring is calculated as follows. Probability E means the number of ways of obtaining E divided by the total number of outcomes. So let's look at that. So how many 6s do we have in this? And the question is that we have 1 6. So let me write it down. The probability of getting a 6, there's only 1 6. But how many different things could happen? Well, in this case, we could get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 things that can happen. And your chance of getting a 6 is just 1 out of those 6. So what is the probability of not getting a 6 then? Probability of not getting
the probability of not getting a 6, meaning that you could choose a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, or a 6. So that is 5 out of 6.
A 6, I'm going to write it this way, the negation sign. Not getting a 6 would be, you could get the other things. You could get 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, which means that there are 5 other things. And then out of 6 things. So we can say that the chance of getting a 6 is less likely than the chance of not getting a 6, because there's only 1 6 and 5 other numbers. Now, here's a very important formula. This is a nice little thing to learn. If the probability of an event or some event A is equal to A over B, where A over B is a fraction there, then the probability that A doesn't happen is just 1 minus that fraction. And here we can see that the probability of getting a 6 is 1 over 6. So the probability of not getting a 6 is equal to 1 minus 1 over 6. We can rewrite this as 6 over 6 minus 1 over 6. And you can see that there we get 6 minus 1, which is 5. 5 over 6, which is what we have here. Now let's look at some more questions that will kind of give you an idea as to how to go about these probability things. Now the questions that you get in CXC are not really difficult questions. Probability theory in CXC has been reduced to the point where you only get one question on the paper 2 that deals with probability, and you probably...
And that is true what he says. You will only get one question, and it is question 5 that deals with probability for about 2 to 3 marks. But as I said, we're trying to maximize any number of marks we get per question. So if we capture at least, let me say 3 to 4 marks in each question, will go a long way. And there are some questions, especially when we read sequences and stuff, you all will see that we could get full marks, right? So the purpose of the crash course is that every day we do a different question. And if you all do your part and revise what I'm teaching you, there is no way that CXC could bring anything on the 8th of May that you can't answer.
We will get 1 or 2 questions on the multiple choice. So these are some of the questions that have been on paper 2 or multiple choice.
And this is taken from the CXC website, so he knows what he is talking about.
Now here we go. The table above shows the marks obtained by 50 students in a test. So 50 students took a test, and this is the result of that test. What is the probability that a student chosen at random has a mark less than 5? So we're just going to close our eyes and pick a student. what is the probability that that student will get a mark less than 5? Now, the question is, how many marks are less than 5? Now, less than 5 means 0 to 4. That's less than 5. And how many students got those numbers that are less than 5? Here they are. And so the probability that you will get a mark that is less than 5 is equal to these numbers, the number of things that happened there. So 5 people got 0, and 2 people got 1, and 3 students got 2, and 4 students got 3, and 6 students got 4. And the number of students who did the exam was 50. So let's add this up.
How did he get
6 plus 4, 10.
50? He added the 5 and the 2 and the 3 and the 4 and the 6, the number of students. They want the probability less than 5. As he said, less than 5 is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right?
3 plus 2, that's 5. That's 15 plus 5, that's 20. So we get 20 over 50. And when we're doing probability, it's always the little unwritten rule that we write our fractions in the simplest form. So this comes down to 2 over 5. So there's a 2/5 chance that if you randomly pick a student, that they will get a mark less than 5. Now look at this one here. 3 coins are tossed simultaneously. That is, you take the 3 coins in your hand and you throw them up in the air. Remember, a coin has 2 faces. It has what we call a head, and it has what we call a tail. All right? So if you toss 3 coins at the same time, what are the possible outcomes? You may get 3 heads, or you may get 3 tails, or you may get a combination of heads and tails. Now, they are already written out here for us, what the results could be. And it says 8 represent heads and T represents tail. Now, the question is, what is the probability of randomly obtaining at least 2 heads? Now, random is important because they don't want us to fix the result and cheat. All right, so at least 2 heads. Now, let's look at the results. At least 2, that means 2 or more, which means 2 in this case, or 3, since we're dealing with 3 things. So the probability of getting a head, so you have head, 2 or more heads. This one has 1, so let's mark them. This one has 3, so that fits it. This one has 2, that fits it. This one has 2 as well. This one has 1, so we can't count that. This one has 2. This has 1. This has 1. This has none. So we end up with 1, 2, 3, 4 possible ways over the total number of ways. Now, how many ways are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And so we end up with 4 over 8, and we can simplify that and write it as a half. And that's our answer there. Let's look at 2 more questions. Here we have a situation where 120 students are writing an exam and 100 are expected to pass. Now, if 100 are expected to pass, the estimated probability that a randomly selected student will fail the exam is what? So if 100...
And this is a typical multiple choice question, right? So we're going to look at these 2 and then we're going back to the past papers, right?
Students are going to pass, then how many students do you expect to fail? The 120 students are doing the exam. So you'd expect that 120 minus 100 would give you 20. So 20 are expected to fail, which means that it's 20 out of 120 students. And that means that we can simplify that, and it becomes 1/6. So 20 students are expected to fail, and those 20 students over the total number of students here. Here's another one. A bag contains 4 red balls and 5 blue balls. So that's 4 plus 5. So it's 9 balls in total. All right. A ball is picked from the bag, and is found to be red. It is not replaced. So we're going to take out one of the red balls. There are 4 red balls, so that leaves 3 red balls and 5 blue balls, and that gives us 8 balls left. All right. What is the probability that the next ball to be taken out randomly from the bag will be blue? That is, you're not going to be looking at it and all the balls will have the same texture and same weight and same size, and you just dip your hand in there blindly and you take out one. What's the chance that that ball will be blue? So the probability that that ball will be blue, remember, one ball was taken out, a red one. So there were 9 and one was taken out, so there are 8 now. And how many blue balls are in the bag? There are now 5 blue balls in the bag. So your answer there is 5/8. So like I said, the probability that you get on CXC, it's not that difficult. It's pretty much what we call theoretical probability, and it's usually.
All right, so let's go straight into the questions. All right, so we have taken from the May-June 2021. So we'll do all the probability and then we'll do the statistical diagrams. The two-way contingency table below gives information on the mode of transportation to schools for 100 students. Boy, the total is 48, sorry. Girl, we don't know the total. Then we have the total persons is 100. So if you notice, the totals coming down is 100. So this value should be 100 minus 48, and 100 minus 48 is 52. Right? Adding these totals here is 48. So 48 minus 14 minus 15. Here should be 19. Adding the values coming down, 19 and 18 is 37. And 23 minus 15 is 8. So here I've completed the table, and for 2 marks, it wasn't bad at all. I feel you all could have secured that. What I am interested in is the probability. The first one, a student is selected at random. The word random here means that it is 1 out of the 100 students. So the probability, and this is out of 100, because random means out of the 100. What is the probability that he or she is being driven to school on that day? So the total number of students who are being driven is 40. So this is 40 over 100, and 40 over 100 is 2/5, or 0.4. So the probability wasn't bad at all. We could have been able to secure that, right, for 1 mark. Then they say of the girls, this is the key word, of the girls. How many girls do we have? We have 52 girls. So the probability and of the girls that she did not cycle. So if she did not cycle, then she could have walked or driven. If she did not cycle, she could have walked or she could have driven to school. So did not cycle. So 8 plus 26. 8 plus 26 is 34. So 34 divided by 52 is 17/26 for 2 marks. So I believe once we know what the terms mean, random means anybody out of the 100, of the girls mean anybody out of the 52. Did not drive, then she could have cycled or she could have walked to school, right? So that was probability. There was one as well that CXC brought, this one. So we're going to do this one. Right? And I remember children asking Miss, what is positivity in mathematics? All they see and all they could have remembered was this word positivity. But let us see what they're asking, right? And this is typical. You could try it. You could write the word positivity and you could put it in a bag and you could try this little experiment. The letters in the word positivity are each written on separate cards and placed in a bag. Daisha picks 2 cards with replacement. Notice that this is bold, meaning that when Daisha pick a card, Daisha is replacing it, right? That is something to remember. Find the probability of picking an I. So, how many cards do we have in total? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So my denominator is 10. How many I's do we have? We have 1, 2, 3. So the probability is 3/10. And here's what. If you did that, you're getting 1 mark. The probability of getting an I is 3/10. The probability of getting a V. How many V's are there? There's only 1 V. So that is 1/10. So the probability of getting an I, then a V, is 3/10 multiplied by 1/10, which is 3/100. So I believe that students who did this question still had a chance of securing at least 1 mark there. Even if they didn't get the 2 marks, chances are they could have secured at least 1 mark. Positivity, how many numbers, how many cards do we have? We have 10. We have 3 I's, so that is 3/10. We have 1 V. So an I, then a V is 3/100. Now, we go into the statistical diagrams, which is the cumulative frequency curve. And I really want to spend some time and show you how we do the curve, right? So we're going to look at the video very briefly, not the entire thing, because it's there for you to look at your convenience, and then we'll take it from there.
+23 plus 23.
So very quickly, here we have the table below shows a frequency distribution of 100 students in an exam. Copy and complete. What I want you to understand how he goes about filling the column labeled CF or cumulative frequency.
Frequency is 5. And we're going to just add our frequencies and move along. So we're going to take this 5 and add it to the 18 and say 18 plus 5, and that gives us 23. And then do the same thing, 23 plus 23, and that gives us 46. And then 46 plus 22 gives us 68. And then 68 plus 11 gives us 89. So let me tidy this up and do it again. Remember, we start with our first
pay attention, please.
Frequency. Our first frequency is 5. So we add 5. We start with 5, then we add 5 to 18. 5 plus 18 is 23. 23 plus 23 is 46. 46 plus 22 gives us 68, and 68 plus 21 gives us 89. 89 plus 11 gives us 100, so we round it off there. In order to draw our cumulative frequency curve, we need the upper boundaries and we also need our cumulative frequency. So the upper boundary and the cumulative frequency correspond to our XY points that we're going to graph. And so to find our upper boundaries, remember we take the upper limit and simply add 0.5. So these are our upper limits. We add 0.5 to them and we get our upper boundaries. So this will be our X and our cumulative frequency is going to be our Y. All right, now let's look at our scale for our graph, 2 centimeters to 5 units on the horizontal and 2 centimeters to 10 units on the vertical. So 2 to 5 on the X, 2 to 10 on the Y. Let's look at our graph here. Now, let's go back and notice that our square start at 20, 21 to 25. So we can start our curve at 20. Just put a little break here and start at 20. So 2 centimeters to 5, that gives us 25 here. And then 30 and 35 and 40 and 45 and 50. It's important to pay attention to your scale. Usually when CXC gives you a graph to draw, somebody has already drawn it to make sure that it can fit on the paper. And so you need to look at your paper and see what direction you need to turn it, whether landscape or vertical, is in this one, to make sure that when you draw your graph, to see it better. And then over 80, this is 90, so 89 would be here. Curve.
This is what we call a CF curve or ogive curve, right? So we're going to draw our own diagram looking similar. And this is one that is very popular, the CF curve, right? So look out for it, and I will show you how we will go about securing the marks in drawing this curve. So here we have, and this one came from the one where we did with the school nurse, right? And the persons with class A and class B. So here we have for 1 mark, and really and truly any 1 mark that we could secure any paper to will go a long way, right? So the cumulative frequency, so don't watch the question and pass it and say that hard we can do it, we could do it. Cumulative frequency, I've given you a minute or two just for you to fill in the blanks. And what they did is that they started it for you. So it is not completed, but they did it for you. So which means that each value that you put there, you're going to get 0.5 of the mark, right? So go ahead. CF, the value coming down, the running down total, right? So 24 plus 35, 59. 59 plus 67, 126 plus 20, and 146 plus 4. So you should be able to secure this mark here. The next thing is to use your CF curve to find the median. Remember when I showed you the video early on and we had group data, I told you, and the person in the video from CXC told you that you wouldn't be asked to find the median to calculate it, but you'll be able to require to do it from the graph. That is exactly what they're asking. So let me see how much marks for this graph, because this is 2 easy marks that we could get. What I want to point out is because the numbers are the same here, we will use 80, we will use 100, 120, 140. We wouldn't use the upper class boundaries, right? We wouldn't use that. We will use those values. Some are printed for you. So I feel you all have this exam paper. So we're going to plot the graph. So I'll put in the values for you. Some is done, right, for you. So 84, that was the first one. This one was plotted for you. Then we have 124. That one is done. Then you have to do the ones that you have to plot. I'll put it in blue. 120, and that is 59. Then we have 140, and that is 126. 160 is done, and that is 146. And 180 is 150. So 4 are done for you, and you have to do 2 and draw the curve. So you get 1 mark for plotting the values, you get 1 mark for drawing the CF curve, and that is 2 marks. And I really believe we could get those 2 marks. Eh? So 120, we're going up to 120, and we're going up to 59. So if you notice, this is intervals of 2. So 52, 54, 56, 58, 59 will be right here in between 58 and 60, and 140 that goes to 126. We have that. Oh, so we have this one. That one was plotted for you. The one that we need to do is the 160, 146. So that would be 142, 144, 146. Right? And you're drawing as best as you could the CF curve. Now it must be like a S shape, eh? So I feel I could draw this a little bit better. You could probably come here, draw it like that, but it must pass through the points. As best as you could. Right? And that will guarantee you 2 marks. So take a minute, draw it in your book, practice it a little bit, and we will move on in a short while. We have 2 parts to do, which is the median and a probability. And you're getting a probability in question 5. Right? So we have the median. So remember, median means middle. So if the curve extends to 150, the median will be the 75th value. So 75 will lie between 74 and 76. So you're coming straight across and you're coming downward here. And it has to do what you have in your graph, eh? Not what the other person have, right? What you have in your graph. So 124, 122, 122, 124. So this is 124. Here's 126. this point is 125. So if your friend next to you get 126, and she could read off that from her graph, her value would be correct. There would be a window where CXC will give you some allowances, but it has to do with your graph. So this is the median, which is a half of 150, which is the 75th position. And here I got right? My graph gave me 125, so that's why I am putting. That doesn't mean if the person next to you get 126 are wrong, eh? And the probability that a student chosen at random, so the chosen at random, remember I told you what random means? It could be anybody. How much persons we have? Well, we have 150 persons. So the probability that the person is greater than 130, so this would be out of 150. So let me go to where 130 is. So I'll use it in red. So this is 130. We're going straight up here to the graph. Let me try and draw it out better. 130. We're going straight up to the graph here. And we come in here. So according to my graph, all these persons here has a height more than 130. So this value here is 92. So the number of students here will be 150 minus 92, which is 58. Check out on your graph. You could get 60. You could get 60 there. It doesn't mean that my answer alone is correct. You just be mindful that you could get any answer there, right? So here I have 50 divided by 150, and this is 29 over 75. That is my answer. If you got 60 over 150, well, put that down, right? So that is the CF curve. I believe we have one more with this one here. So this one asks for the number of students who took at most 32 minutes. So we have here at most 32 minutes. So you had to read off 32 minutes. So 32 will be here. You're going straight up to the curve. And here, well, the line kind of bent, right? So we're coming straight to here. Right, so let me look at the scale now. So we're going 4, 8, 12, 16. We're counting in 4. So this will be 44, 48, 52. So at most 32 minutes would be 52 students. And the last part, they're asking for the interquartile range. Now the interquartile range is the upper quartile minus the lower quartile. So the upper quartile or the lower quartile is a quarter of the nth value. The nth value is 220. A quarter of 220 is 55. So we're looking at the 55th position. So 52, I believe, 55 could be, this is 52, so probably 54. So roughly about here. So as close to that as possible. So here we will get 32. So this is 32 minutes. And Q3 is 3/4 of N, which is 3/4 of 220. So 3/4 of 220 is 165. So we go in 164, about roughly here, coming straight down, reading off that value. That should give us probably about 55. So 55 minutes. So the interquartile range is Q3 minus Q1. So it is 52, I believe, 55 minus 32 according to my graph, which is 23 minutes. Now you'll get a chance to look at the video and to see how best you can find the quartiles that is listed for you. So I want you to take note of that, right? And there's one more that we have to do. So let me say for some reason you didn't get the interquartile range. That is only 2 marks. You could have gotten the probability, you could have gotten this, and you could have worked out the mean, mode, and median. So there are still parts of each question that you could secure marks on. So this one that I want to touch on before we go, each of the 75 girls recorded her favorite sport. The number of girls who chose cricket and track are given, right? And there are 75. How many more girls chose cricket than track? So we could read off this from our graph. So this is 12, and this is 16, 18. So this is 16, 17, 18. So here we have this line here. All right, so let me draw it. So if we draw this line straight across, this is 17. So 17 minus 12 is 5. So just by reading off that, we would have secured 1 mark. They say 11 girls recorded tennis as their favorite sport. So we could draw a bar for tennis, 11. So 2, 4, 6, this is 10. So tennis will be 11. So that will be midway between 10 and 12. This is tennis here. This is my graph and my bar, right? So this is 11. So if I have 75 in total, how much remaining? 75 minus 17 minus 12 minus 11. It means that 11 plus 12 plus 17 is 40. So I have 12. So 75 minus 40, I have 35 remaining. And they say the ratio of swimming to football is 2 to 3. So 5 parts is equal to 35. So 1 part is 35 divided by 5, which is 7. So 7 by 2 is 14. So swimming will represent 14. So I draw any bar 1 time. And cricket will represent 21. So 21 roughly about here. And that is my bar there. And here I have drawn it. Right. For 3 marks, I would have gotten that. They're asking for the modal sport. Well, the modal sport is the sport that has the tallest bar. So the modal sport would be football for 1 mark. So you see how they can ask you to find the mode, right? And of the girls selected at random, the word random represents out of 75. Calculate the probability that she chose neither track nor cricket. So we don't want cricket and we don't want track. So she could have chosen swimming, football, or tennis. She don't want track and she don't want cricket. So she could have chosen swimming, tennis, or football. So that is 14, 11, and 21. 14, 11, and 21 is 46. So the answer is 46 over 75. The information on the favorite sport of the 75 girls is shown in a pie chart. Calculate the sector angle. So sector angle is out of 360, right? Football. Football represents 21. So 21 divided by 75 times 360 is 108.0. All right.